You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Welcome to the exciting world of the movies.
Welcome back, retro movie lovers, to the scariest and spookiest podcast on the internet. Ain't that right, Zach?
Fuck yes, the spookiest. We keep it creepy.
That's right. I'm like, my nerves are shot from dealing with this cuck technology all day long.
Exactly.
But I guess it's good that I'm a little on edge that we're about to watch this spook fest of a movie, huh?
Exactly. We are actually recording this on location too. We are in Burkittsville, Maryland. We're doing that. We're digging some some graves while we decided, basically I brought it up. I was like, hey, you think we should do it on location at Burkittsville? And he's like, yeah, that'd be like educational. And I was like, fuck, educational would be funny. So we decided to do it because it'd be funny.
Well, I really wanted to do it outside that old, what was it, Civil War munitions factory that's in the movie. But when we got there, it was just homeless encampment full of feces and everything else.
Exactly. They tore it down at some point, apparently. Now It's just a big fucking lot. Bunch of shit everywhere.
Yeah, it's literally a feces factory.
Exactly.
So we're rolling. There's not too many ways you can watch this movie in this day and age. I guess you could have a VHS tape. But for a movie that came out in 2000, only 6 years before Blu-ray, somehow this never came out on Blu-ray, so you gotta watch it either on streaming or that weird DVD/CD.
Exactly, that's what I got. The fucking one side is the DVD, one side is the soundtrack, which has great artists on it, such as Nickelback.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing.
Before they really hit the stride. But yeah, so we're gonna get it rolling. On the stream, I have it at the 1 second mark. Zach has it on the DVD, but we got it synced up where just the logo says Artisan. It's just a black background, says Artisan. That was the name of the studio at the time, which would eventually get acquired by Lionsgate. But Artisan was pretty badass in the late 90s, I gotta say.
Oh yeah,
I was actually,
good shit.
Yeah, Suicide Kings, all kinds of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Suicide Kings had our boy Johnny Galecki in it.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
All right, so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. And when I hear me say go, hit play on your DVD/CD remote or on your smartphone. Everybody, 1, 2, 3, go.
Hell yeah, Artisan Entertainment, very Chad.
Very
simple
Chad.
Logo.
And the Haxon films.
Yeah, the Haxon, exactly. And then fucking this movie, it broke the mold when it came out. They put out the first one. They were like, oh, it's low budget, shot on camcorders. Basically, they had that basically the best thing about the original, because I don't think it holds up.
No.
But the best thing was the whole ad campaign.
Yeah.
And making you think this was a real document. Even though to go back and think about it now, it's just how could we have ever thought they were showing us a fucking snuff film in fucking theater? That's fucking very low T beta shit. Oh, look at this. Kurt Loder. Remember that guy?
Kurt Loder literally starts out the film. Before that, though, there was a disclaimer that I didn't even realize in one of my films. I ripped that off, apparently, just to put up a disclaimer saying that the movie was shot with shitty cameras.
Oh, yes. Very Chad. It is basically a perfect genius idea for we only have a camcorder to make our movie. We have one film camera. How can we make this and use it as part of the story? And there already was Cannibal Holocaust, but it's possible they didn't know about that movie. And I think, and then there's that other movie. The last broadcast it was oh yeah, this was a total rip off of that. And it's possible.
Well, what I will say is as far as Cannibal Holocaust goes, it's not a movie that was really that readily available. I never had a chance to rent it the entire time I grew up going to video stores. And the last broadcast, yeah, it did come out kind of right before Blair Witch, but it's kind of one of those things where it's were you at one of the 6 film festivals that it showed? If not, how would you know about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was just gonna
Yeah,
say the opening. There was a cameo from the filmmaker as one of the
the
crazy.
director,
Yeah,
Joe Berlinger. He's the guy that made all those Paradise Lost documentaries.
yeah. The
Uh,
movies that made people love Damien Eccles.
fucking Damien Eccles. He's a household name.
He is
Fuck,
now.
we got to hang out with Damien.
Apparently,
Fucking
these
very Chad.
videos, though, yeah. Apparently, these videos. Some of the people were the real townspeople. They said.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're basically this movie's kind of genius that it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna make the sequel where it takes place in the real world where the first movie was just a movie, and like there's a bunch of people that were like jumping on board with the whole the fucking the Blair Witch fever,
Craze.
believe in it, showing up at the real town, going through the woods and all this shit. This guy right here, he's the main character. He's very Chad.
Hmm.
We find out that he was in the mental hospital for a while, and this starts kind of the first thing that the director, if you have the DVD and you listen to the director's commentary, he just shits on shit like this, where basically he gave in his first director's cut, and basically they wanted to add in stuff like this. And
Yeah.
you can tell when you're watching, like this just seems like very cartoony compared to the rest of the
Well,
movie.
this part here is like literally. I'm just gonna say this is the worst scene in the entire movie because they
Yeah,
want you
yeah.
to know that this guy was like in a loony bin the year previously before he started giving all these tours around the Blair Witch locations. So how do they do that? They just randomly insert some like weird footage of them putting a tube down his throat in a hospital. By the way, the guy's smoking a cigarette, dropping ashes on his forehead. By the way,
Yeah, but
but
that's against regulations. They would never do that.
and then he pulls out a jar of like either elephant or horse cum and pours it down
Yeah,
this guy's nostrils. Like
like wasn't that just like fucking? Look how thick that is. Wasn't that just like choke him? He
yeah.
drowned in it. Like what loony bin? Why would they have to do that?
Why are
It's
they
just
lubricating his sinuses with horse cum?
it's obviously just something weird to
Yeah.
put in the movie. And
Just
then
so
he's
at
got
the
cum in his mouth there.
yeah, so the end you can see the cum coming out of his mouth. But it's like how would that improve your mental state at all?
Oh fucking reasons, bro, reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like literally this is the worst part of the movie, this scene. Like if they would have cut this movie out, I mean cut this scene out of the movie, it would have like been a much better movie. And I get it, like the director was like, oh, I wanted to make a more subtle movie, and the studio was like, oh, it's got to be but it's like this shit doesn't even add anything like at all.
It's just like basically if you didn't see this, you would probably forget that he was ever in the nut house because he just
Yeah.
mentioned it in that little footage right there that he
Yeah.
was away and locked up for a while. And then later on in the movie, the Kim chick, the goth chick, she says, that line where she's like, I can't believe they let you out. You're far from sane, which he gives a look like fucking what a bitch. But like she was
Right.
just joking probably. But
Yeah.
like here's another change right here. For the he originally had the fucking what was his name the song Witchcraft
Yeah.
by fucking what's his name Sinatra was playing during this, and it didn't have these quick cuts where it keeps
Of
showing people
gore.
dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they wanted to change that too. But fucking the Marilyn Manson song, it's not. I always loved this shot actually, like
Yeah,
fucking
I do
the,
too.
the the orange look of the trees, and apparently he wanted the movie to start out with this, with the credits as like a callback to Paradise Lost, kind of like yeah, fucking
Yeah, it looks just like the credits of that.
mm-hmm,
I gotta,
very Chad.
I gotta say, this is the one like studio like change or whatever that was actually good. Putting in the Marilyn Manson song because like, I mean, Witchcraft by Frank Sinatra. It's like okay, whatever. It's kind of cute and winky, but like
Mhm.
considering the movie is like lampooning like young goth people obsessed with witches and shit. Like Marilyn Manson was the best choice he could have put. And then like this is like not necessarily this song, but this was like around the time with this Hollywood album, the when I finally got into
Mhm.
Marilyn Manson. But yeah, this is the song "Disposable Teens," which like actually Marilyn Manson knew a lot about it in the late '90s because when he would go on tour, he would come in the teens and then just throw them out the back of the bus on the way to the next town.
Exactly, very disposable these teens,
Yeah.
and fucking hope they don't come out and me too you one day. But then fuck, oh shit,
Nope, it happened. They
exactly.
got groomed and then they told.
Fucking they were doing the low T shit, Marilyn. Why?
Yeah, Marilyn, why'd you groom him? Now I
Exactly.
gotta say, dude, this is another change that
Yep.
like originally all these like what do you call them, police interrogations were all like a 1 8-minute segment the director said he played. But I actually really liked them being played throughout the movie. Like honestly.
Yeah, I think that works for it a little bit. Yeah, originally it just all came at the end when you're getting that like tying it up kind of fucking thing in the police station stuff. But yeah, here's where we find out like so yeah that a character that was in the nut house, he got out eventually. He became a big fan of the Blair Witch Project. And he decided, like, he basically modeled his whole life around it. Like he does this like tour. He sells stuff like on eBay. He goes to like the Coffin Rock and he gets all the sticks and sells the stick figures on the internet and like all this shit. So yeah, now we're meeting him and like a bunch of people he's taking with him to take on this Blair Witch tour. He calls it the Blair Witch Hunt. They're basically going to go to the woods and just hang out. Fucking the two of the characters are writing a book about the Blair Witch Project and whether or not it was just all a hoax or because there is the movie. I don't know if there ever was a literal Blair Witch, but like some of the people in the story are like based on real people, like
Mm-hmm.
the murderer. I forget what his name was, and like apparently he ended up going into the nut house after he got out. So like this character was actually a reference to that character and him being in the nut house and stuff. But real quick, you remember like on the the VHS of this movie, it had that thing at the end of the movie
No,
called it had the thing called Secrets of Ezra Fur. And basically they set it up like, oh yeah, you look through basically they showed a bunch of fake scenes where they're like, this is shit that we filmed and like weird stuff happened. Like, oh yeah, this shot right here, all the locks on the locker right there are normal. But then once we turn this corner, they're arranged in the shape of a pentagram. But we noticed stuff like that. We took it out of the movie, but there's some stuff we didn't notice, and you can go back and watch it. Like when you reverse there's like a little counter in the bottom right, and it's telling you like letters, and like
mm-hmm.
you write them out, and then they spell words in reverse. So like water was one, and like tombstone was one. So like on that VHS cut, that scene right there where she's laying on the grave, and it says treacle for the last name of one of the kids that died. Like one of the shots, it cuts back and it says Lucifer on it, and then it cuts back and says treacle again. That was something they added on the VHS. They must have done it with CGI because it's not in this cut we're watching. It's not on the DVD or the version that's streaming on HBO Max in HD. By the way, that's the only way you can see it in HD. Very
I
low
know.
T.
I gotta say, I kind of hate shit like that. I never did see the VHS. I saw this movie when well, first of all, I saw the first two Blair Witches when they came out, and like the first one, I was like really disappointed in. Like, not really like when I was in the theater, I didn't think it was like a bad movie or anything. I just didn't think it was like that interesting.
Very forgettable. Yeah, just
Yeah, it just like okay, like it's cool because I knew like the whole story because they had that sci-fi special and all that shit of the first Blair
mhm.
Witch movie.
Like yeah, the whole thing going behind it was almost creepier than the fucking movie itself. Yeah,
Well, just more entertaining, I'd say, because like when
yeah.
like you get all this hype from the specials that were on cable TV at the time, and then you go
Hmm.
see the movie, and it's just very like one note, kind of like, oh, we're lost in the woods, we don't know what's going on, what's going, like
Yeah.
like my favorite part of the first Blair Witch movie is actually just the very beginning when they're like normal and they're like, oh, we're going in the woods, we're going to go do this, like, but
Talking with all the townsfolk, getting their
yeah,
like stories, like
yeah.
that fucking weird lady, like yeah, creepy, and the guys fishing.
And then my least
Like
favorite parts are where they're just like, look at this little fucking celery general hanging from the fucking tree.
exactly,
Oh, it's so
exactly.
creepy. It's like, oh, is it? Because I'm sitting in a fucking theater with like 75 other people and like nobody's really creeped out.
And it was funny because they tried to keep it a secret that it was all a movie and it was
Yeah.
fake, but like fucking like the whole cast showed up at the MTV Music Awards that
Yeah, I
year,
know.
which happened around the time it was hitting theaters, so everybody knew by that time.
Yeah, I was just kind of bored with the first one. But like when I went to see this movie, and like if it would have been the same, like, oh, we're lost in the woods shit, I probably wouldn't have gone to see it. But the trailers showed you as like a real movie and everything. And when I saw this movie, I think I liked it. Like I wasn't like blown away by this like the first time, but I was just like, oh yeah, that was way better than the first one. Because like this one kind of like had more of the mythology and the build up that I liked that was in the first one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it seemed like I was just primed to like this movie because like I always love movies where like it's just it's good scenery, like a movie that takes place in the woods. Even though I didn't think it worked in the first movie, but like this one, it's there enough, and like that opening shot and stuff, and then like the thing with the cameras, because like I always like I loved filming shit as a kid. I always try to get my friends to be in these like little home movies, or try to make little movies, and then like, oh yeah, they wake up the next day and like all their shit's destroyed, and then they got to watch the tapes to find out what happened. It's like this is right up my alley. Even though like you watch it now and it's like this shit doesn't make any sense. Like
Right.
the scene where the chick right there, Erica, is dancing around the tree, and it's like, oh, I got to redigitize it and blow it up, and then we can get a better look, we can get a better angle. It's like all you're doing is zooming in.
Zooming
Like how
in,
you
yeah.
and then somehow they see all this hidden footage whenever they rewind the tapes, because that's how it works.
Exactly.
Well, whatever. It's all like paranormal shit. There's a witch involved, I guess.
And that's the thing. It's really hard to do witch movies good. I know people are like, "Oh, witches are some of the best thing because female, whatever characters are the best." But like the thing I kind of like about Blair Witch, or at least this movie, is like you don't even know if there really is a witch, but
Mm,
like a singular witch who's doing on it. But like how in this movie they established like they're going to sleep in the ruins of the house of the guy who killed all the kids in town. It almost seems more
mm.
like it's more like less about a witch running around and more just like this place is evil and could be like influencing people to do shit throughout like the centuries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that stab shot I always thought that was really gnarly. Like it just looks like they put clothes on like a watermelon and then stabbed into it
Yeah.
and twisted it, but like twisting it like it was ugh, fucking that it always creeped me out seeing that.
Yeah, those close-up stabbings, because you never see those actual real murders like really play out in the movie. You just get those quick glimpses cut throughout the movie. Like, I thought it was cool when they were doing it during the opening credits, but when they start doing it through like parts of the movie that are like actually entertaining and don't really need that, like, then it
Hmm.
does kind of be like, oh, they're showing that too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all stuff that happens while they're blacked out
Yeah.
this coming night. Which is a cool idea for a movie. I thought like, yeah, they wake up the next day and they don't remember. And it's like, did they kill him, or is this all like the witches doing? And like, like did the fucking yeah, it's just crazy to try to piece it together. Even though it's just like fucking, it's not. This is kind of like it's like David Lynch Jr. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those plots. It's like whoa, what's happening? But it's like it's not too like fucking mysterious where you can a general audience can watch this and not and get it and just not walk away like I was completely lost. Like they'll probably be like, oh, that was fucking stupid, because I know a lot of people did that when they watched it. Like they kind of like almost remade this movie more recently. They did that movie Oculus about the
Yeah.
yeah.
Where they
I remember
like
watching
they
that.
don't know what really happened, and then they got to like watch the tape back to see what really happened, kind of.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
remember watching that, and people were enjoying that one. I was like, this is kind of like the Blair Witch, and everybody
Yeah.
hated that one. Very low T.
I gotta say, like I only really have seen this movie like 3 times. I saw it in the theater. Like unless I'm just like totally forgetting, I don't think I ever saw it on home video. And then like a year or two ago, I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious about this movie. I think I was like more curious to see it again over the years. Um, because like I kind of just saw it when it came out. I was like, oh yeah, that was good. And then like then you just heard for years and years, this is bad, this is terrible, this is the worst horror movie ever made. So I kind of had like a whatever curiosity, but I just never wanted to buy that weird ass DVD. And then like as time went on, like it was like one of those movies like I'll buy the Blu-ray, and then like the Blu-ray of the first one came out, and I was like, oh, it'll be a double pack with part two, or there'll be like no, never, never. So like yeah, like I want to say it was just like HD Net Movies or something like just a year ago. I finally saw it again for the second time, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and it's
Hmm.
actually like just in general, and I'm really surprised. I mean, granted, he had a cinematographer and everything, but this is a guy who like this is his first like regular feature film, not a documentary. Like this is one of my favorite movies, like with the cinematography, like and especially seeing the HBO Max version looked even actually way better than the whatever satellite TV version I saw like a year ago. I love the visual texture of this, of the film shots, and then when they cut to like the mini DV footage, like you can tell it's like video footage that's been transferred to film or whatever. But like
Hmm.
even that like looks good. It doesn't look like your typical fake shitty handheld camera footage that you see in movies now. You know what I mean? Like this whole
Mm-hmm.
movie is just fucking awesome, and like that's what I miss out of like the digital movies that are made now, especially the digitally shot horror movies, is they don't like the digital cameras. I know I say this all the time, but like they don't capture the lighting the same way, and like the
Mm-hmm.
lighting is very important for the atmosphere of horror movies.
That's like what really makes or break, like whether or not a movie looks super generic or not is
Yeah,
all in the lighting, really. Yeah.
yeah. And like yeah, like and like I really like the cast. Like the only person that's kind of like oh like I wouldn't like like the casting is like 99% perfect. Like maybe like this one guy Steven or whatever, he's like kind of annoying. But then I'm like, well, I can't really blame the actor because the character's supposed to be like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, like the Steven and his girlfriend, they're there for the book, and she's pregnant, and then the other two characters is the goth chick who was there because she likes the movie, and then the other one, I forget her name. I think
Erica,
her
yeah,
Erica. Yeah, they're all named after their actual.
yeah, their real
That was a
names, yeah,
yeah from the first movie. They wanted to do something kind of the same and kind of meta or whatever. So she's there because she's into witchcraft, and she's like yeah she wants to connect to the spirit of the Blair Witch, and like yeah so like whatever happened to that chick, the fucking
which
Erica.
yeah, Erica, I don't know too much. I know the one that plays the goth chick, Kim Director. She's like I looked at her IMDb. She's done a lot. Like and like the Erica chick, the redhead, like it's really good job because apparently when they cast the movie, she had short blonde hair and they had to make her hair red and give her extensions, but like her hair doesn't look fake at all. Like it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually you can
She
spot fake red hair in a movie a mile away, but
The last thing I seen her in, I swear, was like the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
yeah, I don't even remember her being in it. Was she the girl who
Yeah.
pulled the gun out of her vagina?
No, she was not Jessica Biel, but the other girl in the group.
Okay.
That guy right there holding the camera, because they run into another, tour that are into the, Blair Witch, and fucking the guy, and that's the head of that one, looks like the guy from Nickelback.
Yeah.
Fucking, he's gonna Chad Kroger it up over here.
Because he even tells the guys, like, what are you doing here? This is our campsite. Take a look at this photograph.
Exactly. Neither of these guys have permits. Yeah, they lied to him. They told him, "Oh yeah, something fucking weird happened over at Coffin Rock or whatever it was. Oh, you guys, fucking, you guys should go check it out." So like, yeah, that's the whole crux of this night is like whenever they wake up the next day and all their shit's destroyed, they think that this tour group came back while they were fucking blacked out and destroyed all their shit. Very high tea, if you ask me. But this is funny. This chick says, "Listen up, I didn't come all the way from Berlin to look at some old trees." It's like you watched The Blair Witch, which is a movie where people are walking around looking at old trees, and now you came here because you liked The Blair Witch. That's exactly why you came from Berlin, was just look at old tree. Well, what do you think? Like, the movie's
Yeah.
not real, right?
Well, I guess we should clarify because I don't know if we really say it. Like the way this movie kind of plays it, like at least the way I took it from the opening crawl was, it's kind of like they're like, yeah, the first movie really happened, and then this movie actually really happened too, but just there wasn't like footage or whatever, so like we just recreated it with actors. Like,
Oh, okay. So maybe that is the thing. The
yeah,
first movie still, it's a movie, but they're still going by the logic of like
it was
how we
real.
all,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what the way I took it or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah.
But I gotta say though, because like like this is the movie, especially coming off the way the first movie was made, like independently for I don't know what the budget was, 30 grand or some bullshit like that, and it made like whatever 150, 200, 300 million, whatever it did. It's like they had to know the movie studio, they had to know that they weren't going to capture that type of lightning in a bottle. So it's like like I think the movie the budget of this movie was like $5 million or something, and like
Hmm.
it grossed a lot less, but it was like way profitable. But like I gotta say, like they hired this documentary filmmaker to make it and do this kind of like meta half documentary half movie thing. But I gotta say, like, as much as the director's like, oh, they fucked with my vision, they did this and this, like, for his first like feature length movie that wasn't a documentary, like I think this is a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good horror movie, honestly.
They always fuck your vision in a way. They're like, yeah, like I think at some points people are gonna like kind of rediscover this movie and kind of like, oh, it wasn't as bad as it was. I think it's really under like, yeah, like it's not. It's a dumb movie. There's nothing like super like enlightening about it or anything, but it's fun to me. This shot always like weirded me out. Where assuming this is after the weird, the
Yeah.
whole fucking reverse the footage stuff happens. So, but she's clothed again.
No,
So
I
maybe
think it's before.
Maybe, yeah. But like she just comes down, sits down, drinks her beer, and then has like a staring contest with an owl here.
Yeah, an evil owl.
and, and it's cut really MTV generation. Like it keeps cutting, like quick cutting to her face in different angles. It's really weird.
Yeah, I don't know. This was one of my favorite scenes of the movie. Yeah, I guess it's while it's happening, kind of. This is one of my favorite scenes of the movie. I think it's the Queens of the Stone Age song, where it's like real, like kind of obnoxious and
Yeah.
repetitive. It's like, did you do cigarettes, alcohol, nicotine, blah, blah, blah. But it's actually like cut really good. And I'm sure
It
probably
is,
the
yeah.
documentary filmmaker probably hated that. That might have been a studio choice, but like that's like probably my second or third favorite scene in the movie. Like that montage of them just getting fucked up, and it like all of a sudden the movie starts changing and getting stylistically weird. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I love this scene too, where the girl just like I don't know why, like there's something creepy about it. Like at first you think she's going to go down to like take a bath or piss in the river or something, and the way she just walks into the river, like it seems normal, and then it just gets creepy out of nowhere. Like I like horror movie shit like this instead of like the really like over the top like horror shit.
Oh crap. I was wrong. The DVD does have some of the stuff added in because one of them was water, and it was during this scene. You could see the silhouette or like the shadow of one of those big stick figures, and
Okay.
like as if it was floating above her. But yeah, she had a dream where she took the baby that she's pregnant with, hasn't had yet, and just drowned him in the river,
Yeah.
which is creepy. And then like yeah, they wake up the next day and all this mayhem. I always like this. They wake up and it's almost like it's snowing, but it's all this research that they just shredded up, and then the
Yeah.
wind is just blowing it around.
It's all yeah. I was gonna say that too. This is one of my favorite things of the movie too. It's very eerie that it's literally just paper confetti flying around like snow, but like it puts like a weird like ambiance onto it. Like I think again, like I think this movie is like better than like the vast majority of horror movies. Like I won't go as far as to say is it's like a masterpiece because there's like some areas where it doesn't go very far. It kind of like in towards the middle, it kind of starts farting around and just kind of wasting time with just showing weird shit just to show weird shit. But like
Yeah.
the concept, the setup, and then the way it ends with the payoff, like if you just think about it mentally, like I think it's a great fucking idea for a movie.
I know a lot of people say like, oh yeah, like the most frustrating thing about Blair Witch 2 is that the idea is cool, like but like the people say like it's just squandered, like in the
Yeah,
execution or something.
yeah, I wouldn't really say that completely. I think it just kind of like like I think it's a movie that's like probably like 80% perfect, and then the 20% that's like not that great. It's just kind of like middle of the road. Like it's not bad. Like there's never really a point where you hit in the movie where you're like, oh, this sucks, I want to turn it off. But it's just like
Hmm.
it's kind of like the setup is so good that you think it's going to go somewhere awesome, and then it just kind of for a while once they get back to the factory loft place, like it kind of just starts happening to be kind of like normal horror movie trope shit of just seeing weird
Hmm.
shit and hallucinating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, this is basically yeah, like they wake up, all their shit's destroyed, and she said, "Oh, at least the tapes are still here." She's got like yeah, basically up until this point, she's just kind of like implying that she can like see the future or something. That she's got some kind of weird telepathy, and then like right here, yeah, she's like, "Oh yeah, the tapes are still here," and then she's like, "Oh yeah, they're over there," and they're like, "Oh, that's where they found the Blair Witch tapes. Like, why would they be there?" Fucking, and they're actually there. See, I thought that was cool. It's like, yeah, fucking, but then it's like, "Oh yeah, you put them there, you liar." Very Chad, very Chad.
Exactly. Create the what do you call it? The paranoia. But I thought it was cool, like with the goth chick, is like I think a lot of movies could play it in like a lame way where she just shows up and she's psychic or telepathic or whatever. But like what I like about this movie is like it kind of gives credence to like the hills or the woods or whatever they're called, the Black
Hmm.
Hills have some kind of power in them. Is like she's starting to like it's just like she knows shit, like it pops in her mind, but she even like says a couple times like, I don't know how I know this, I don't know how it. So it's like kind of cool that like a normal person is like receiving all this like kind of psychic shit and like they can't even control it, you know what I mean? Like it kind of makes you think there's like a larger evil force going on here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like we were talking earlier about how they put like the FBI interrogation stuff throughout the movie. Like that scene later on where she brings him coffee and he turns around and she sees him like in an electric chair.
Yeah.
At first you watch it and it's just like, oh, that was just there to be weird. But
Yeah.
then like, yeah, that's something that like watching it a second time, it's like, oh, she's seeing his future. She mentioned she can see like the future and stuff at certain points in the movie. So like, yeah, fucking doing stuff like that kind of did it made you like it's way easier to follow now. This isn't the kind of movie. It's like, oh, fucking. I was a little, shocked by the ending. I guess I got to watch it again and fucking pick up extra stuff. It's just like, no, it's like the artisan was like, nobody wants to watch a Blair Witch movie more than once. You fucking get it all in one viewing, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Like, like you can blame artisans, like, because they wanted to put what they call more traditional horror elements into it. Like, they wanted like the quick cut-ins of the graphic shit, and they wanted, the music so they could sell the soundtrack. And you can really tell during the closing credits, there's like 7 songs that keep playing. Like, it's just like every 20 seconds a new rock song keeps playing to sell that soundtrack and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
like at the same time, like this shit, like there's good classic horror movie type shots and feel like I did think it was a little suspect that I think the movie isn't it like roughly almost exactly 90 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm sure the original cut was probably slightly longer, but at the same time, like it's not like some 90-minute movies that feel like cut like to the point where they're like like incoherent. Like it's not like that. It still has a slow pace to it, which is I think good. You know what I mean?
See, you can tell that that shit was done in the editing at the end, and that was all supposed to be at the end, because otherwise they wouldn't have wrote it to be this confusing. Where he's talking to the FBI, and in
Yeah.
the story, he's telling the FBI he's also talking to that guy from the FBI.
Well, yeah. Like I was gonna say, what did you think of like the local hillbilly sheriff who like hated the Jeff guy and always knew he grew up like a troublemaker and crazy and shit? I actually thought that
I,
was a cool character. I liked it.
yeah, I didn't recognize him from anything. Like this is the only thing I really know him from, and he's good in the role, I think. Yeah.
And he's just weird because he's just kind of like a hillbilly looking guy with a long ponytail, and he's like wearing a suit
Oh,
because he's a cop.
oh. As a kid when this came out, this scene, there's 2 shots in this movie where it shows this little girl creepily dancing, and
Yeah.
this shit terrified me back when this movie came out. I remember I used to like get in and out of the shower, like opening that curtain, thinking I was just gonna see her standing there. Fucking creepy.
Yeah, that sounds like a artisan insert.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Honestly, like that's the only parts of the movie I don't like is like the shit that looks like they were from like a Marilyn Manson video from the time. You know what I mean?
Hmm. She brings it into the story though. She says like, "Oh, I saw the little girl that was killed because yeah, the guy that was killing kids and fucking that was part of the witch's mythology too. She used to make the kids stand in the corner
Hmm.
and then like kill one of them, which is the ending of the first movie. See, here's a fun fact: back whenever back when the first movie came out, like me and my mom, we knew all about it. We knew about the hype behind it. We went. It never came to our theater, I don't think, but we went as soon as it came out on VHS. We got it. We took it. Fucking remember that buying VHSs? That was dog.
It
But
was.
then like, yeah, we put it in. We were watching it, and my dad comes in. He's just sitting there, like he's like, "Oh, they're watching a movie. I'll join in." So he gets there at the beginning and he's watching the whole thing. At about an hour and like I don't know, at least an hour into the movie, he goes, "When does the actual movie start?" Like he thought this was all just like the opening where it's just setting up the story that the
Yeah.
movie's gonna.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It kind of has that feel of like it never quite ramps up. You know what I mean? Like it's a movie. The way it's constructed is like it's all about the beginning and ending, and the middle is all kind of just like details. You know what I mean?
Mhm. That was another shot that they tampered with for the VHS. Another one spelled out mirror, and like it was that scene. Like when he passes the mirror there, instead of showing the back of his head, it shows basically what you're seeing in front. Like it's just the front of him again, but it looks like kind of sinister looking. And like yeah, I remember when that came out. Like I was still young enough to be like, oh man, I buy this shit. Fucking yeah, they shot the movie and weird things happened. They didn't notice it. So
Well,
I did. I bought into that.
yeah, I don't really like. Well, this is the thing too, where like he realizes where they reveal he's part of Jeff is part of the Fast and the Furious crew, where he boosts like old DVD players off the backs of trucks and stuff and sells them on eBay. But
Yeah.
yeah, all that shit about mirror spelled backwards and this and all of this, like, to me, it's like that's just the Marilyn Manson influence of the time. Because like a lot of people
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know this, but Marilyn Manson was one of the first like out there celebrities to talk about researching flat Earth. He was the first one, and I think that kind of rubbed off on this film for sure.
Very Chad.
Oh, I forgot to say during Disposable Teens, like, Marilyn Manson had some great lyrics because he was like, so open minded, and he was like, all about those men's rights and stuff. But he would like to confront the audience with a shocking lyrics. So my favorite line from Disposable Teens is when he says, "You want an evolution? Well, the ape was a great big hit."
Very Chad.
And it's true. Like
Very.
people get obsessed with apes. Like you go to like the zoo, like that's where everybody's crowded around. Like Marilyn Manson was like he spoke the truth with that one.
He did. Fucking every time you went, don't lie, you saw that fucking ape jack off at least once. They knew. They knew what it was all about.
Exactly.
Fucking very shit. I always laugh at that scene right there where he's basically showing off his store, like where he gets the rocks from like by the river or whatever, and he makes the rock formations and he sells them on eBay. He makes the stick men, sells them on eBay, and the hats and stuff. But like he looks at the rock formation, he's like, oh my god, who made that? He's like, oh, I did earlier, and that's very Chad.
Yeah, I like it because it's kind of making fun of like all the shit that popped up, cashing in on the
Yeah,
first movie.
I remember that in the first movie. She finds a stack of rocks. She's like, "Oh my god, who did it?" It's like it's the fucking woods. It's a stack of rocks.
Exactly. Well, also too, it's like when they showed all those sweatshirts he had made for the Blair Witch Hunt, and it's kind of making fun of the commercialism of the whole thing and all that. It kind of like looking back, hindsight is always 2020, but like watching this movie again now in the year 2021, I was like you look at the quality of the sweatshirts, and I'm thinking there had to be a deleted scene where they showed Jeff inventing cafepress.com or whatever.
Hell yeah, he'd be rolling in the money.
He'd be the new Bezos, the original Bezos.
This is the stuff like with the wife here, where she's just like she's doing that, like, oh, they press their hands in the blood and then press them on your skin. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? This is like one of the threads that you never really. I guess it's just like, okay, well, I guess they kind of explain that with the weird markings on their body, yeah. But then like, yeah. Oh, by the way, they get basically it's like they think it's poison oak or something, but it's like fucking like it's the thorn.
Yeah,
Fucking, you think while they were passed out, that old hermit from Halloween 5, like,
yeah.
took them to his house and put that on them and shit?
It,
Fucking nursed them till they came back to?
it is very definitely the Curse of Thorn type shit.
Yeah, see, I said that, but I forgot they took that out of the actual.
Yeah.
Apparently, originally it was the hermit that drew that thorn on him. But like, yeah, fucking, isn't that funny? I didn't think about that as a kid, but isn't it funny to think that a hermit brought a guy into his house and just let him sit there for a year?
Well. Also, too, is Halloween 5. It makes more sense what the original story was. It wasn't a hermit. It was like a younger guy who was like in the satanic cults and arts and shit. And so
Mm.
like it makes more sense that a guy into satanic cults, like I think his name was like Rocker Bob or some bullshit. It made more sense that a weirdo like that would try to resurrect or keep alive Michael Myers than just an old blind hermit.
You think he got like one of those saline drips to keep him fed and shit, or just poured shit down his gullet? Fucking.
That's what I was thinking. He probably just like brewed up some soup, the old hermit. But I was like, what does he do? Like, does Michael Myers just piss and shit the bed all the time for a year? Like, what happens?
He refills the bedpan.
Yeah. He just keeps the old rusty bedpan he got in there.
Oh yeah. Maybe he sucks it out.
Yeah.
Very Chad. Look at that. See, this is another thing too. I noticed while watching this. It's like, oh, we got to watch all this tape. Oh, they're basically just watching the stationary thing. It's like they can't even see themselves in this. It's like, well, we got hours of tape to watch. It's like in real life they could probably fast forward. They wouldn't have to watch every inch. They're just looking for that weird
Like
group.
movement. Yeah.
Yeah, the weird group that they think are the ones that destroyed their shit to show up.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that like that other tour of people showed up, like they made them all foreigners, to like mock foreign tourists and shit. Like I don't think you could get away with that now. Like if anything, now you would have to have the movie be about the foreign tourists. You know what I mean?
Oh yes.
I was gonna say like this is like the only kind of story beat that like rings kind of hokey to me. That they all go back to Jeff saying like, okay, like they hire him basically as a tour guide, like this husband and wife couple. I don't think they're quite married. Maybe they are, but they're definitely a couple. Like the lady has a miscarriage, and it's like instead of just staying in the hospital or being like, okay, dude, like we went on this weird like tour with you, it didn't work out, all our research got shredded. We're gonna have to start over from scratch writing our Blair Witch book now. It's like they make it seem like for some reason they have to go back to this weird guy's like fucking war, Civil War factory to like to have his wife recuperate. Like, why would you want to be like in a stranger's house in like a shithole like that when your wife is literally recovering from medical losing a baby type thing?
That shit scared me as a kid. That fucking kid on the fucking bridge.
See, I gotta admit, I mean, obviously I was way older than you when this came out. Like when this came out, shit, I was in my 20s already, I'm sure. But like, yeah, like when I would see that shit, it was like all the same shit that was like in those fucking PG-13 Ring Goose and Marilyn Manson videos where like everybody like shakes, and I'm just like, that's fine for a shitty MTV music video, but like I never found that shit scary in movies. You know what I mean?
Fuck, you were too Chad for one hand, babe.
I think probably where that shit started when you say was Jacob's Ladder, like when he would see the weird demon people acting weird. I think that's where all that shit came from.
I love that movie too.
Great. I like when the horn comes out of the lady's mouth. Like I had a picture of that in a Fangoria magazine, and I found it oddly erotic as a child.
Isn't that what it's implying, that the guy behind her like has sex with her and it comes out the top of her mouth?
That's what weird. I thought.
Yeah,
because she's always like sweaty and like horny or when.
Very Chad. See this scene right here coming up whenever he's talking to Erica and like fucking she just scratches his stomach and it's just like, that's a good effect. I think it holds up.
It's actually a really good effect. It looks like something you see in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the Blair Witch, I'm kind of shocked that like this seemed like the studio move at the time, but I'm shocked they didn't get Marilyn Manson to come play the Blair Witch.
Oh yes, that would have been amazing.
Yeah,
they could actually like get him like, oh yeah, this scene at the end, you're gonna do that trick where you suck your own dick, right? Because you got your rib removed. He's like, that shit isn't real. I didn't really do that. I'm like, oh fuck, you're fired. Yeah, that was the only reason we hired you.
Yeah, that rumor actually got really out of hand, and a lot of people believed it, but it's actually really false. And like the reason it's false is they said he got ribs removed so he could, he's a very tall man. He's like 6'4", so he could bend down and blow himself. But that's actually not what it is. The problem was after his concerts, him and his bandmates, when they was 69, he was like 6'4". They were all like 5'8", 5'9". They couldn't reach him. So he actually got the rib removed so he could curl up more, so they could reach him in the 69 position. So I mean that's just like totally the media, like blowing shit out of proportion. I mean, he did it because he was tired of being a selfish lover to his bandmates, to Ziggy Ramirez and John 316 and all the rest of them.
Twiggy Ramirez.
Yeah, her too.
That person got Me Too'd also.
That person got Me Too'd like actually shockingly way before Marilyn Manson did.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta take this moment to throw a shout out. I'm sure he's going to be listening to this episode at some point when he gets back from his honeymoon. But you know who's actually a new listener to the show? and is actually was a huge Marilyn Manson fan back in the day. Is our boy Phil Dees.
Dog.
Yeah.
Phil D's nuts. Very Chad.
He's probably going to listen to this episode and play Mechanical Animals in the background.
Oh, yes. Was he a Mechanical Animals guy?
Yeah, he was. Because I remember, like, other than Rock is Dead, I wasn't too hot on that album. But if I'm remembering correctly, Phil Dees, if you listen, if I getting this all wrong, yeah, but he was like on board pretty much from the beginning. I think I was a weird Marilyn Manson fan. I didn't really like any of his shit until Hollywood, and then I went back and I got into his first album, and then the only other one I bought was like later on. They did this like compilation that was all his early demos, and I kind of liked that too. But I listened to Mechanical Animals the other night when I was playing NBA 2K20 on PS4, and I was like, yeah, Mechanical Animals is pretty good. But yeah, at the time, for some reason, I don't know why, like I didn't really warm up to it.
That's the same with me. Yeah, fucking, I didn't like it until like that album. Yeah, Hollywood is like it got me into it too.
You ever notice like there's like a lot of Marilyn Manson songs where it's like and then he's like and what do you think he's actually doing like when he records that where he's like yeah like you know what I mean like what do you think's going on behind the scenes?
Well, he's probably trying to suck his own dick, but he can't because he still got that rib. He needed to remove it.
He needed to remove it.
Yeah, I think this chick Erica is a Stacy, very Stacy.
I was gonna say, like for this being a quote unquote not commercial movie, like they went out of their way to make sure all three girls were like good looking. Did you notice that?
Very Chad.
Yeah.
Good move.
Yeah.
See right here. He's got the thorn. It was that guy from the fucking Hermit.
You know who the guy that plays Steven really, really reminds me of? He's like almost like an early version of Bradley Cooper.
Dog. Oh yeah.
Like Bradley Cooper could have played this role and it would have come out exactly the same. You ever see that movie Case 39 with Renee Zellweger and Bradley Cooper?
I've heard of it. I know I've seen the cover. I don't know if I watched it.
Yeah, it's like an early movie back when Bradley Cooper did all these horror movies like that, Midnight Meat Train, and like yeah, he gets victimized about halfway through, and he gets his jaw ripped off by a demon or something. It's pretty gnarly.
Dog. See, look. Oh, we enhanced it. He got a new angle on the tree girl. Oh yeah, enhanced it.
Well, I think it's funny too is like he keeps trying to like freeze it like right at the same spot. It takes some hours, but it's like from any angle, even from the first time, you can tell it's just a naked girl swinging around a tree.
Exactly, and everybody watching the movie knows that's who it is. It's like it's the girl. It's Erica right there.
Yeah,
and then they show it, and it's like, oh, it's a big reveal. It's like we already knew that. We could just tell by the back of her.
Yeah. I guess we should say too the guy who plays Jeff, like this is the first thing I ever saw him in, but he went on to star for like 10 years on that Burn Notice show.
I saw that. This is the only thing I've ever seen him in. Yeah, I've heard he was on that. I never saw that show.
Yeah, I started watching. I got a couple episodes into it. It's good, and that was another one I started watching because Phil Dees told me about. But it used to be on Netflix. I'm not sure if it still is. I wouldn't mind seeing some more because they had our boy in it, Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell, he's gonna be on Joe Bob this Friday. Very Chad.
Is he very dong?
Fucking the Bruce.
Yeah, and like this is like the part where like pretty much everybody, because you know like the director, he was talking about a lot like really what this movie was about was like what does he call it, like mass hysteria or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like where you get a group of people for some reason believing that something that's not going on at all is like going on or whatever. So like this movie is supposed to be a big meditation on it. And like it's kind of before his time. I mean, not really in real life, but I don't think the media blew up his shit yet. But you know who's another person that could have got this group of people believing all kinds of crazy shit? Is our boy Officer Daniels. If he would have called the house at this point, he would have got them believing anything. Did you see what Officer Daniels did to Burger King? The video I sent you.
I saw that. Yeah,
that was amazing.
He's still fucking kicking around doing that shit.
It's got to be the same guy because they said it keep happening over and over to different Burger Kings across the country. It's got to be the same fucking guy back at it.
Oh yeah.
This is another real Chad move. Is when you put all the young in shape women in your movie. You come up with a curse of thorn or whatever, mark of thorn. And the reason that they got to rip off their clothes to show all their marks.
Exactly. You think now if they're part of that thorn cult, they're gonna have to get like their uncle is gonna have sex with them to kill the baby or something.
Yeah.
Fucking that was the plot of the Halloween P cut, and I never got like why would they want him to make a baby with his niece so that he could kill the baby? How about just not have it? Oh yeah, this is funny.
Yeah.
Hey Elvira, I got you something to suck the blood out of. I would feel embarrassed even
Yeah.
if I was an actor paid to say that line.
I know.
And then she says, "Oh yeah, whip it out." And then like he doesn't. Like he just got like the go ahead and he just stands there like a fucking beta.
Yeah, these guys are really beta because like I almost had the feeling if they just would have like been cool or whatever, they probably could have scored with her because she was looking to get beer, she was looking to party, everything.
You know, she wanted to get some beer, like she might get drunk on that wicked ale. That's what she's getting, wicked ale. That's what goth people drink, wicked ale.
Yeah, Pete's Wicked Ale, man. You want to talk about sponsorships out the wazoo? They're like their logos all over it. Now I thought this was some hacky shit. Like she goes back to the whatever you call it, general store, the small town, and it's like the same people are shopping in there like 12 hours later.
And that same lady has the same cart full of whatever the fuck that was, that canned shit.
It was that was another corny thing. It was deviled ham or whatever.
Yeah, and then the guy on the floor, he's got his as you notice, his tools are arranged in the shape of the stick man.
Yep, I did kind of notice that.
Peggy's kind of a Stacy too.
I was gonna say they could have just got some country girl to play the checkout girl at the store, but no, they had to get a Stacy.
Very Stacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's filming her. Like, I wonder if this will come back up later.
I thought it was funny too that the camera wasn't just like filming all the time. It had to be like switched on at a certain point.
Oh yeah, that means like basically if she wants to shoplift from her own store, she just turns it off.
Yeah.
Very Chad.
I worked at a video store and a guy did that one time. A guy I worked with, like when I had to change the tape out for the night, he's like, hold up, I'm going to run and I'm going to get a Sprite from the cooler and then I'm going to put it, because he was already drinking a Sprite, but he finished it. So he did this bullshit, and it was like my first week of working there. I didn't know what the fuck he was like trying to do or whatever. But he had
Is
like
he testing me? What's going on?
Yeah, I was like, who is this fucking guy? And anyway, like he had a 20-ounce bottle of Sprite. He finished it, and like as I was like taking the tape out for 10 seconds, he literally got up and ran back. So there was like no tape in the thing recording, you know? And he got another Sprite. He whatever, put it on the table at the exact same spot. So like, you know, in between like the whatever, you know, if you went from one
guy.
Yeah, continuity. He was doing continuity shoplifting. And
genius.
Yeah, and then like I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, thanks for like making me help you do whatever bullshit.
Oh look, she's jamming POD.
Yeah.
Fucking, you in the South Town? How you know that kid don't play? How'd they follow her? That's the same guys.
Yeah, they like the kids they must have known the shortcut, and they must have took the Jason Voorhees shortcut in the woods.
As soon as she dissed him like that, she said, "Oh yeah, whip it out," and then walked off. He was like, "Man, she fucked me hard there. We got to get back at her. Like, let's take a fucking running start and get like fucking halfway back to where she's going, and then we'll come out, fucking throw shit at her. She's driving by." Very, very well thought out on their part.
I mean, they're no, okay. Like, how far does the tricks of the witch or the town go? Like, do you think? Because, I mean, obviously these kids dressed in, like, school clothes from the 1600s are imaginary ghost kids. But, like, what about the ones that was sexually harassing her? Are they real, too, or what?
Well, they might not have been. Like, yeah, it looked like they were gone there. Fucking, yeah. Oh, we could see down her shirt from that shot.
Yeah, we could.
Fucking a very, very Chad camera guy up there, hiding in that fucking grating up there.
He was making sure that the studio got what they wanted for commercial reasons.
Mm-hmm. And see, she fucking what this is? That file that Peggy was using? Why is it covered in blood? How'd she get that? That's weird.
It is weird. How did this happen? This is not my beautiful wife. This is not my beautiful house.
You know what? I forgot I put a drink in the freezer. I better go get it before it explodes.
All right. Much like Kim's beers here, if she were to put them in the freezer, her wicked ales, if she was there to put them in the freezer, they might explode too. But yeah. Zach ran out on his favorite shot of the movie when the guy, whatever. She turns around and Jeff is in the electric chair, and like he's even got the inmate like uniform on and everything. Again, some of these things I think play, like Zach was saying, they play better the second time you see the movie and all that.
You see that? You see, he was turned around right there while he wasn't looking at it. It was showing some of that weird shit, like that. And then she could have said something. She could have been like, "Hey, there's something going on," but then he turns around and it's back to normal. They could have found out even earlier. Well, I guess he would have had to rewind it to say like, "Oh yeah, there is something there," but then like he would have saw all the hidden footage that only plays when you're rewinding it. See, look, this is weird. I always thought this was edited really weird. We see Erica right there, right?
Mm.
That's the last time we see her. But the way like her whole disappearance plays out, it's like I don't know. It's like I always thought like, was it a mistake to put that scene there?
No,
he sees her that day.
I know exactly what you're talking about because it almost feels like when she goes missing or whatever, it almost feels like sloppy, like there was a connecting piece of the movie that was edited out or something. Like,
very low T on my part. I guess I forgot that. Yeah, they do kind of. They do mention he's the last person to see her alive. You know what's funny? I don't know if you heard it, but opening up that can right there, it just exploded all over me.
Did it?
It was in the freezer too long.
That's what happened to Kim with her wicked ale when she went to get the chicken out of the thing. Her fake KFC. What was it? A sparkling water?
It was.
You know what was weird is I don't know like what happened, but like a couple weeks ago, because I do this thing where I take a drink out of the fridge because I like my shit like really cold. I take my drink out of my fridge and I open it and I take like a sip or two, and then I put it in the freezer, and then like it gets colder faster because it's already open. The cold air is like directly going into it. For some reason, it happened with the sparkling water and then a Dr. Pepper, but somehow it was exploding after it was opened, and I don't understand how the fuck that, like, it was like shooting out and like spraying all over the inside of the freezer. It was weird.
It was coming.
It pretty much was. I've never had that happen, and I've blown up a lot of sodas. I used to do that all the time when I lived at home. Like I put whatever, because my dad worked overnight. Like I put a Dr. Pepper or something in there, it would blow up. He come home, in the morning, want to get some ice, and like there's fucking like Dr. Pepper sprayed all over the inside. When that shit blows, it really explodes. Sodas do.
Fuck yes, it's good shit. See, that's what it was. It's because she goes back up and sees the clothes sitting by those candles. So I guess, like, I assume because they're still by the candles, she's just been sitting by those candles doing that weird Wiccan thing all night. Apparently, while they were filming that scene where she was doing the seance, that she kept repeating that. Apparently, like, she got real worked up. Apparently, like, they found that in a real, like, because they wanted, they didn't want to fake it. They found a real prayer or whatever in the Wiccan book, and she was repeating it, and like, and probably just, the stressfulness of the scene, but it like really, really fucked with her. Apparently, fucking made her like wore out and shit. They had to stop filming. Very Chad.
Yeah, I wonder like how much the guy, being a documentary filmmaker, how much he like went for like long takes and tried to get it all at once. You know what I mean? Because it kind of does have that feeling. Like even though is like different camera angles and different edits and shit, like it does have that feeling where it's like it's very like linear. Like they shot the movie in order. You know what I mean?
I can officially stop stalling. I have successfully dried up my keyboard now.
Okay.
We're back in business.
We're back in business.
Exactly.
Well, I was stalling for a second too because my phone that I'm watching the movie on, it gave me the warning that it was down to 20%, and then it like froze up, and HBO Max didn't want to start getting going again. So then I was like, I finally got it playing again, but then I was trying to get my other phone to play it, and yes, cuck technology, HBO Max does not work on older Android phones. So
It's fucking cock technology.
yeah, I'm just gonna watch it on this iPhone until the battery wears out, and then I'll just take your word for what's going on in the movie.
Exactly. See, this is kind of this little like section here where Erica disappears, and then like yeah, up until like about the time when they find out that they had to reverse the tape is kind of like the lull, I would say,
Yeah.
like where it kind of the story is kind of it's taking a pause, and they're like basically just kind of messing with kind of like the visuals and stuff, like oh, how much weird shit can they see that isn't explained until the ending and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I
and
would.
that's kind of like the weak part of the movie I was talking about earlier.
Mhm.
Like it's not bad, but it's not as cool as the other shit in the movie, you know.
Or maybe we're just the ultimate unchads, and it is bad, and like because everybody else seems to hate this movie. Maybe there's something defective with us.
See, it's hard for me though because this happens sometimes. There's a lot of times movies people love I don't really like that much. So it's like one of those things where it's like comparative taste, where it's like if you loved the first Blair Witch, oh my god, what's going, they're lost. Like if you love that kind of shit, I don't think you would really like this movie, like under any circumstance, because this movie is like. This is like some five head shit almost, to be honest. Because it's like the fans of the first movie are acting it out, kind of. And then like they're in like the reality of like what's the local Blair Witch legend. And like, you know, how much of it is just their own craziness and psychosis. Like
Yeah,
it's completely different.
I wonder how much of the hate is just because it's not a continuation of the first movie and it's not the same, and it's kind of like, oh, it's a movie that takes place where the first movie was a movie, and like that's kind of like yeah, that's pretty ballsy for the time. 'Cause, like oddly enough, I remember like 10 years later or whatever, whenever like when Pet or what was it called Human Centipede 2 came out, they were like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, that's so original, making it to where the first movie was a movie and this is taking place."
Yeah, I mean, so many franchises have done that since then. But at the time, people could get like, you know what, like they probably should have done in order to rake the money. In Zach, is they should have made Blair Witch 2 like exactly like the first one, just have it be a new group of people that are like, oh, I want to find out what happened to Josh and Sarah or whatever the fuck, and like they go out, the exact same shit happens, and then this one would make more sense as like a part 3 kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like we've learned that that's basically the best way to do it if you're trying to milk a franchise. Like
Yeah.
fucking Paranormal Activity, you make Paranormal Activity 2, where it's just the same movie.
Oh,
It's the
really?
expansion pack. It's the DLC,
The DLC.
basically. Fucking like, don't do something like Blair Witch did. And you know what? I thought of this too. The reason this probably hasn't came out on Blu-ray yet
Mm,
is probably because they probably been trying to get like that newer Blair Witch off the ground for a long time, the one
yeah.
directed by Adam Wingert,
Yeah.
and they're probably like, "Oh, let's not fucking retaint everybody's expectations by putting that Sega one out that really put the fucking nail in the coffin back then." So like, yeah, if we do put that out on Blu-ray, we'll put it out like after we put out the Winger movie,
I never
whenever that.
seen that one. Did you see it?
I did. It's very forgettable.
See that's what everybody was so stoked when they're like, "Oh, we made it in secret. We called it this other movie, but it's actually Blair Witch." And it was like that thing where they're like, "We want you to know that this movie is a direct follow up to part 1. It doesn't in part 2 it never happened or we don't reference it." I'm kind of like, "Well, why?" Like if you're doing part 3 20 years later, like it like there would be no reason why I would reference part 2 at all. Like I don't, no matter what. Like I hate when
Yeah.
cuck filmmakers do that. Like, we're forgetting the stuff you don't like, but we're going to very directly recreate all the shit you did like. It's like, to me, it's like, fuck you. Like that's the laziest, most cash in shit. I mean, I'm not saying Blair Witch 3 is bad because I haven't seen it, but it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I always like that shot too.
where she's
Like
eating the chicken.
for no reason, she's just eating. Like yeah, she's probably the same fucking Al that she had the staring contest
Yeah.
with. He wanted revenge basically. He kamikaze through that window. He didn't realize it slit his throat by accident as he was coming through, so he just died. And then
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, I have my revenge, bitch." And she just ate its corpse. Fucking savage over here.
You know what would have been awesome though, because he had like zero food in that place at all. He just had that little bucket of chicken, which at the most was just like one of those. It wasn't even a bucket. It was just a little box that they put like 2 pieces in to feed like 8 people in this fucking house. It'd be awesome if like he like shakes his eyes like, no, she's not really eating an owl, and he opens back up and she really is eating an owl just because there's no fucking food in the house.
Very Chad, exactly. I'm hungry.
Oh, eat your fucking. Now this is like kind of like the last scene of like bullshit fake hallucinations, but it actually like is cool because like I like the stunt of the bridge collapsing with the guy on it.
Exactly. And then like yeah, like basically fuck, I had a good thing I was gonna bring up, and it's out of my mind now. It was I was thinking about it before I did the whole tirade about the owl, but then like yeah, I completely forgot.
And then you got struck by Cumbrain.
I did. Look, she comes out, she sees him, just walks away.
Yeah.
Very, very low T. He doesn't think anything about that. Like, they should have told him right there.
Well, that should have been the reason why he gets so pissed at her later. He should have been like, "You're the witch because you left me hanging there to die." But he never like references it like at all.
Exactly. And like he runs in there right now, and yeah, does he even mention it?
No, he's just like she's just acting all weird and witchy. So I guess he forgot about it.
Fucking low T beta,
Yeah.
letting his wife cuck him like that on the bridge.
That's what I was thinking too. Like the part that happens in a little bit when she goes up on the top of the warehouse or whatever. I mean we'll talk about it I guess when we get to it. But that scene reminds me very much of another movie we recently covered.
Hell yes. Hell yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you probably do because I obnoxiously bring it up every episode we've done since then.
Oh yeah. Also, the ending scene where like they see the footage and it's like, oh, that's not what happened. Like usually the audience is supposed to be like scratching their head like, what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
what? And like a fucking witch, she's like fucking with their minds and shit. I always like there's a really good comedy in that, like those scenes. Like fucking, I'll talk about it, but this movie actually has one of my like favorite, like most awkward scenes ever filmed
Yeah.
in a movie. I'll bring it up whenever we get there, but it's like I don't know. Like every time I watch it, I'm just scratching my head. Like how did that whole take make it into the movie? It's a good touch too on his monitors. It has property of like
Yeah.
whatever university. Like he just stole all this shit. Like he did all the DVD players and stuff he sells.
Speaking of the college thing, I love the line that comes up later when the sheriff's like tells him, he's like, I might not be a documentary filmmaker, but I took your footage over to the college, and I'm like, what? Like you couldn't put it in the VCR? You got to be a documentary filmmaker to put it in the VCR.
He's gonna have them edit it all together and make like a narrative, so he can just watch it. He doesn't have to do all the fucking work. Fucking, basically, he wants them to make it like the cops did for the original movie, fucking the Blair Witch Project that we saw in theaters.
I think this movie would make a great double feature with the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Dog or Oculus, because it's basically the same plot.
Yeah. But I think with Poughkeepsie tapes, if you're charging money at a theater, you could bill it as like, come see the 2 most misunderstood horror movies of the last 50 years.
Exactly. Yeah, with the Poughkeepsie days, it's crazy how long it took that to come out. And like when it did come out, I remember saying like, wait, that just came out?
I know.
Like I thought that had to have come out. No, it's just now coming out.
Well, what's funny is that was almost like a Blair Witch type situation with Poughkeepsie tapes, because everybody was like, "Oh, like it was so brutal they couldn't release it," and really all it was the studio went bankrupt and they just didn't want to waste the money putting out a movie. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I was gonna tell you that, like, it happened a minute ago, but like the flat, the police station stuff with Steven, where they're like, "We know all about you, Steven. We got this file on you," and like they like throw it down, and it's got like all this paperwork, but it's got like photos of him at like his high school graduation and like one of his birthday parties when he was a little kid. Like, how would the cops get those photos? Like,
Yeah, and it's weird because it shows like basically I think the movie's just implying that like when he saw it here at his house, he was just seeing into the future or whatever.
yeah,
Because like that's the file that the cops ended up having, but they found it in his drawer. They're like, why the fuck are you watching us? I always like his reaction to when they throw it on his. It's just like, what the hell is this? And he's like, I don't know, where'd you get it?
yeah,
I don't know where'd you get it. It's so funny to me. Like some of the, like I don't know, some of the like the exchanges and the delivery just gets stuck in my mind. And every time I'm watching a movie, I just quote it like he said. See, look, the fucking earlier, the bridge went down, and then he's like, I'm right outside. The cop said,
yeah.
and then they looked at the thing, and the bridge was there, and then he goes there and the bridge is down again. And
Eh,
now his security system isn't just dogs barking on the speaker, it's real dogs out there barking.
Yeah, see, like this is the kind of like I don't know. This is like PG-13 time wasting horse shit. Like if anything, you could kind of trim some of this shit out of the movie because like you need the scenes where they're not trusting each other. That's really germane to the plot. To build the mistrust of what's going to happen here in a little bit. But like
Hmm.
you don't need all those hokey, fake, weird, fucking scares, and you know what I mean.
About they just found Erica.
I find this interesting too because it's like the corpse, like it's a corpse that's standing up first of all,
Yeah, how's how they get her stand up there?
and then you can like twist it around, it'll still stand up and look at you. But
Exactly.
when the cops watch the version later,
They see him hiding the body.
yeah,
He's naked. He takes it. That's what I love that too. He's watching. He's like, stop. It's
Would-
just like,
if you were doing a commentary for this movie, would that be like the scene you would be trying to hold out to?
oh yes,
With just a
I didn't
naked
kill
guy?
Steven.
Yeah. So who's your favorite character in this movie?
I don't know. Probably maybe him. Yeah, maybe the fucking crazy guy that had the gummies coming out of his mouth,
I
and
really,
they put
yeah.
the hose up his mouth, up his nose for no reason.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a toss up for me because I really like him, but I really like the Kim character. Like I remember when this movie came out, I remember being like, oh, she was like interesting because like she's like the total like painted white face goth, but like her character actually has some depth to it. She's not just like a caricature.
Hmm. This is what we're gearing up to like the final showdown. Like yeah.
Yeah.
So like how do you take do you think like the witch possessed her the whole time, or is this like did the witch not possess her and this is just kind of like another way that she's manipulating the way they're seeing the situation to get her to get them to kill her?
Yeah, I think the witch fucked with all their perceptions of reality pretty much. Because with her character, like I don't think the witch could have been possessing her the whole time just because like when they replayed the thing, they showed that they all destroyed like all the equipment themselves. Like it was never like one true saboteur. And like
Hmm.
with the Tristan character, it's like, yeah, I don't think the witch was like possessing her all the time because like there's some times where like she's awake as herself and she's like saying like, oh, like when she was like spinning around the bed and yelling out the names of the kids, like she was like pretty much making it like just like kind of how Kim was having shit pop into her head, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I mean, if they were any of them were possessed, they were all equally possessed. So like no, like because they show later on the tape that like Steven here because he's going to stand up for men's rights here in a second. I mean, they clearly show that the shit that she was saying as the witch, she wasn't really saying. She was actually really scared and crying, and he was just being an asshole. So yeah, like I think that videotape that they watched at the police station proves that she wasn't really possessed. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Or was like the way they saw it the real way, and then the footage is just manipulated like by fucking witchcraft or whatever.
Electromagnetic fields, yeah.
Who knows?
See, I think what's on the tape is what really happens, because in order for it to be Christopher Nolan's Inception, yeah, this is where they make it rain with all the paper, the term papers. To make it, be Christopher Nolan's Inception, that's like a witch inside of a witch, because for that to happen, Tristan would have to really be. Oh, I never noticed that Erica was covering up her vagina with the skull. That's actually kind of cool. But for that to be going on, that would, yeah, very Stacy. That would have to be like she's possessed by the witch, and then the witch is like doing double power to reach into the VHS camera and change the footage. Like, I don't think that's really likely.
And none of it's really. See, look, are they doing a sex there?
Yeah, they were. Steven was having sex with Erica. I'm surprised at the
Fucking
other
stud.
ones, which that kind of leads me to believe. I'm like, I don't think those two would be the only ones who would bone if everybody was being hedonistic here. You know what I mean? Like, maybe hate to go this dark, but this is the movie graveyard. Maybe Tristan got that baby banged out of her.
Oh man. And then then they did the ritualistic killing of the baby, because
Yeah,
the witch eats the witch kills children. The guy
yeah.
says.
Here they are killing the owl too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they clearly bear the mark of thorn. Yeah.
Now look, she's filming herself hiding the footage on a tape that was hidden in there.
Exactly.
Fucking, that's some 8-head shit.
Talk about true queens of the Stone Age.
Exactly. And then this weird smile she gives.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought pretty much everybody of the main cast was really good actors in this movie. I'm surprised they wasn't, if they would have made this movie with Miramax, they would have gave them all like 8-picture deals, but fucking Artisan, they just let everybody twist in the wind.
Yeah. See, I remember when this came out, I remember everybody was just like, oh, yeah, it didn't live up to the first one, and not good. Like, just like 2-star reviews and stuff like that. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I guess I see something different in this movie. And like recently, I went through, and now it's mostly people saying like, this movie's underrated. Fucking don't expect just a part two or just a continuation of the first one, and you'll enjoy it.
But it's just like, to me, from my own personal taste, is like, not to say simple movies can't be great, like something like Clerks or whatever, but like, to me, like, this movie just has so much more shit going on. Like, aside from the hokey horror shit that I kind of roll my eyes at in it, like, it's got good acting. It's got that whole layer of like what's real and what's not real. That gets you thinking. And then it's like, also what I like is it's giving you more of the mythology of the area of Burkittsville, like with the child killer and all that kind of shit. And like, so like, to me, there's just kind of like more to chew on in this movie. I mean, the other one is just like, they're obviously getting their perception of reality fucked up in the first film, because they just keep walking in circles in the woods. They can't escape. And it's like the thing of like, are they just lost, or is the woods truly like endless? You know what I mean?
Oh, here's the most awkward thing. Watch this whole thing. Let's let this whole thing play out, because she flips him off.
Mm-hmm.
She then gives a face like, oh shit, I just fucked up. Like, oh. And now she's just like, pfft, I don't even care, bro.
She looks and acts like Jennifer Aniston in this movie.
Now watch. That's the whole transaction. Just like, fucking throw them off of me. Okay, here's the director. I directed the fucking the Robin Hood killing. What was it called? Paradise Lost. So,
I mean, did he direct it as much as he just filmed dead naked kids?
He filmed it, yeah. It was a documentary, but he's like, you got to take I want you to play this scene. I want you to at first throw them off, and then flip them off like F you, bro, and then do it like almost in a way to where like the camera doesn't even have time to focus on your finger. It's out of focus.
Yeah.
And then go like you just thought of something, or like you're a kid and your mom just looked at you and like you didn't want her to see you do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then just kind of like you don't even care that your mom saw you, and then give the line, "You're all gonna fucking die tonight." It's so weird.
I know exactly because I noticed that too watching it the other night. I'm like, this is like a weird, like what was the feeling here? Because it's like three different personalities. Like I took it to be like more like some multiple personality shit, but like if you're trying to like make this thing play to the people in the back row and be as easily digestible as possible, it is a very fucking bizarre performance choice. You know what I mean?
But I love this scene too because she's the witch, man.
Yeah.
And then like the funny part though is when they watch the tape, the way it's the way it plays out is so it's like sinister to like just epic proportions where it's like she's the witch, man, and she's like, no, I'm not a witch, and, and the husband's like, yeah, you are. She's
Yeah.
like, and then he pushes her
Yeah.
down.
She starts to kind of like cuck him there too. She starts talking down to him like you're
Yeah.
so fucking stupid and you're a moron and shit. And then he decides to fight back and strike for men's rights. Like I thought you were going to talk about the awkward part was when he pushed her off because that was like the weirdest part to me. It's like he kind of pushes her, but it's almost more like she jumps and he's just kind of putting his fingertips out. Like it's very
Well,
weird.
that's what I was thinking. He knew his buddy was filming it, so he's like, "Oh, how am I going to make this look like an accident?" So he really hated his wife there because she's being mean to him,
Yeah.
and he wanted to kill her. But like at the same time, being filmed, so he decided to go no as he pushes her off, like no. But yeah, like my favorite part of the movie is like coming up where they're watching the tape, and he goes, "That's the witch, man," and she goes, "No, I'm not a witch." He goes, "Yeah, you are."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you are. No, I know you are, but what am I? But then, like, at the end, he pushes her off. He's like, "You're a witch. You're a witch." No, I'm not. He pushes her off, and then he looks at the camera and goes, "Fucking witch."
I know. It's like he's calling her a bitch or a whore, but he's just like fucking witch. No,
so funny.
it is bizarre. I guess you could criticize that part. I love this part though, the news footage of them getting taken out and all this, and like these shots of the cop cars. But we got to talk about it a little bit. Like they show the massacre. Like this is the part where you like you kind of know already, but you definitively find out that they murdered the other group of tourists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I gotta say, like it never really kind of dawned on me till this viewing. But like considering that this guy made the Paradise Lost things about the little kids that got killed, and like I don't know if all of them did or just one, but one of the kids was, or at least was castrated, and like you see the body like that in the documentary. And like, do you think it's odd that he worked in that when they killed the tourist, not terrorist, tourist, but like they castrate one of them, like like that made me feel like a little bit grimy. Like this guy made his career off these child murders, and then he's like kind of in a weird way, like even like you said, the cinematography from the beginning, and then also in that scene, like it kind of does have that look like Paradise Lost had. Like it's kind of weird that he's like recreating those like a similar style of murders, but of children, but now for profit. You know what I mean?
I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice that one of them were castrated in the movie. Did they mention that?
They don't mention it, but it's like early on, you know, when they're showing the quick flashes, like like you can clearly tell it's like a guy's lap and it's bloody, and then right there, I think it was maybe Kim, can't remember which one, but they had a machete and they tie the guy to the tree, and they did like she raises up, and then like like, I mean, you don't see a dick come off, but like you see her slice below the waist, and then blood run down his thighs. Yeah,
that might be why, because I think all that killing stuff was shot with a different unit director.
Yeah.
That was stuff that was added in against what he wanted. Yeah.
But you know what's funny though was he said like, oh, he hated all that shit. He didn't want to do it, but it wasn't one of those things where they went and shot it, you know, without him, because he said they shot all that stuff in his backyard. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that just kind of struck me as a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to complain because I actually love this movie, and I wish they would put it on Blu-ray because I would buy it. But like to me, this is like the real like horror part of the movie. Is like now they're in the police station and like they've seen the tapes, and then like they you know they're realizing that like what they saw in their mind is not what happened in reality, or not what the tapes captured. And to me, like this part of the movie should have been longer. Like you might have trimmed out some of all the little kind of hokey horror bits towards the middle, and you kind of could have gotten more into this, because like And like I understand, like he was saying, like the interrogation scenes were supposed to be like one long scene, but like this part of the movie should have been longer, where like they're in jail for a couple of days and like they're each it's kind of like as a montage, like they're cutting back and forth just to make it shorter.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I would like to see each individual scene play out of the people realizing and like having different reactions. You know what I mean?
That's what they should have done. They should have made some of those reshoots, like shooting it like more interrogation stuff
Yeah.
for this ending. And like, yeah.
And again, this is very Paradise Lost, like these scenes where it's like the shaky hand. It's not shaky like they're shaking around, but it's like the kind of awkward handheld of them trying to fight through the crowd of reporters wanting to know what happened. Like that's very similar to all the scenes in Paradise Lost. Did you think this was weird too, Zach? Did you notice when they go into the police station, it's also like a weird brick building with a weird bridge that's like exactly like the factory they were in?
I didn't.
Yeah, that kind of like struck me as odd the other night.
See, I never got like people talking about like, oh yeah, this movie has bad acting. Like I think there's good acting in this movie. Like this, the scenes right here where they're like, yeah, like look at the damn tapes. Like, how do you do that? Not
Yeah.
it seemed cheesy, but like he's making it work. I always thought.
Well, I was kind of surprised he did it the way he did. I thought he would have done that thing where like the interrogations were like taken from like a security cam. Like you know how like you watch like 48 Hours or like news programs and they show like their murderers, like the real cop interrogations are always just like a camera up on the ceiling, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kim, the goth girl, is a real Stacy once they visibly forced her to remove her goth makeup.
Hell yeah. That's not how it happened.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, like what gets revealed here, besides obviously they killed the Japanese tourist and the German tourist, is basically at the grocery store, Kim killed the cashier. Jeff
Peggy with the fucking
nail
file.
Yeah. Jeff, I'm assuming he was the one who killed Erica, probably when they're having sex because they're both naked, and he puts her body in the closet. And then obviously the thing that we saw, we see that Steven pushed Tristan off the thing to hang her. And like in that video, she wasn't the witch at all. She was actually, it was kind of like they were lynching her. Like they're like, oh, you're the witch. And she's like, no, I'm not. Don't do this. Please don't do this. And he like throws her off.
Yeah, just like the real life witch trials.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it to some extent, though. I mean, he was standing up for his rights as a man, so.
Oh yeah, fucking. He was very based and red pilled. He was hanging out watching fucking our boy from that what was that one movie? Fucking
New Year's Evil or the
New
other?
Year's Evil. He found his YouTube channel. He found his YouTube channel and was watching that.
I think Marilyn Manson rented that movie as a kid too, because that's what got him researching flat Earth as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie had double effect. I don't know why. I like that shot of like they show the TV and like it kind of slowly zooms in, but for the longest time, like they're watching the TV and there's just a coffee pot sitting next to the TV. I don't know why I like that.
I love that.
It makes that shit seem real. That feels more real than anything in the first film. A coffee pot.
See, look, how do you play this? This is fucking. That tape is wrong. Somebody fuck with that tape.
Yeah. And like, that's another thing too is I think they should have flip flopped it because the movie ends on Steven saying that tape is wrong, right? Like, isn't he the last one we see? Where like the movie like I just felt like thematically it should have ended on Jeff because he like the way they phrased the movie or whatever, it seemed like he was more like a main character. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I guess since hanging her was like the most recent thing we saw.
Yeah,
probably end with that one.
Yeah, because like the whole movie, another thing that's where it's kind of like heavy handed, or like why they shot that intro where he gets the horse cum pumped down his throat, is not really needed because like. Like the way the paranoia kind of goes around is like, all you need to know that he was in a mental hospital because Kim like knew that about him and she's like, oh, you're crazy, whatever. But like they all go through the exact, even though he was like the only one in the horse cum hospital, like they all went through the exact same like psychosis, you know what I mean? So like it really didn't
Hmm.
matter at all, like other than like they're like kind of suspicious of him at first, like it's a reason for
Yeah.
them to be suspicious, but like they all were just as crazy as he was. So
It makes you like realize how weird a big studio is. Like
yeah.
that was a line or two lines in a movie that they really latched onto. And like when we do reshoots,
Yeah. Oh,
let's kind of make that the focus and like make it look very music video like and
yeah.
like really.
Oh, make it weird, a guy smoking a cigarette as he puts a tube down your nose.
And like you could just tell he's just like acting like he's running the tube down his nose.
Yeah, I
He's
know.
not really moving.
It's like that magic trick shit of like you're actually shoving it into like the palm of your
It's
hand and
like
it's going up your coat
it's
sleeve.
like you guys realize you could have cut away and showed like an effect or something, right?
Well, you know what's funny too is just how expensive it is to make a movie. It probably cost like for that day of shooting to do that scene and to show him laying on the gurney after with the shit running out of his mouth. That was probably like 300 grand just to do that stupid fucking scene. Again, we're back to Paradise Lost though,
Plus,
like
yeah.
with the swirling aerial footage of the woods. Like they kind of show like more tourists going up in the woods, and like I thought that was like a good way to kind of have some like subtle sequel bait to be like, yeah, all this shit happened the first time, it happened now the second time, and there's still dumbasses going in those woods, you know?
See, just like with Halloween 3, I'm more interested in the sequel trilogy we would have gotten if this movie was big,
Yeah,
rather than
I
like
agree.
8 years later we get the movie part 3 was.
But you know, like I don't really remember like people like I remember people hating this movie, but I don't really remember like the exact criticisms of it. But it's just like I remember people being like, "Oh, it wasn't like the first one," and I'm like, "Are you that like literal that you needed to be like another shaky handheld video camera type movie? Like, can you not take in like a regular, you know, theatrical
Mhm.
viewing type film?"
I could see people being like, "Oh, but the original was so unique, and then
Yeah.
like the sequel was just like any other movie. I wanted more of the unique." And like, yeah, maybe if they could have found another way to kind of break the mold
Yeah.
and be like and not do the same thing again, but kind of challenge the way we think of movies
Mhm.
again, but just with the sequel, like that could have been probably more memorable. But like, I think the movie's pretty fun.
Yeah, like they definitely could have done more if they just would have had showed more of the video camera parts. Like if they wanted to, they could have like had the movie be like 3/4 video cam footage with just like a couple little like shots. But I'm glad they didn't do that because, like I said, like this is kind of like especially of that time period where movies kind of started getting a little generic. Even the ones that are shot in film, like a lot of the studio movies were very generic. I think this movie was like perfect in its visual look because it had that thing where like you saw like the browns of the leaves and like you felt like you were actually in the like environment that you're in and everything, but it didn't
Mhm.
have like that corny horror movie look, you know what I mean? Like it still seemed kind of like the real world. It was creepy, but it
Mhm.
was like real world creepy, not like fake soundstage creepy, you know what I mean?
Mhm. And that reminds me too, like the idea of like if the second one would have came out and like done something just as different as the first one, broke the mold in a different way. Like I was listening to another podcast and they were mentioning like you know how like Bull Rat and this new movie Bad Trip,
Mm-hmm.
like basically making a movie where like there's a plot going on, but then like you're getting real people's reactions.
Right.
They mentioned like imagine if like Tom Green would have foresaw that trend coming and did
Yeah.
that with Freddy Got Fingered. Like if it was the same movie, but like instead of actors reacting to the weird shit he's doing with like the baby swinging the baby around, they got like real people involved and like he was like that movie would probably still be remembered. Like if he would have like been on the cutting edge of that or something. Yeah.
Speaking of which, have you ever heard about Tom Green's Lost movie? Like he claimed it was coming out for years. He made an independent movie that was about his fans like videotaping themselves like doing stuff, going on a road trip to find Tom Green because like they're big Tom Green fans and they want to find out what happened to him. And they find
Oh.
him and like he's all wacky and shit, but like I don't know for sure, but kind of like what they hinted around the plot synopsis. It was called Prank Star, it was that like once they find him and meet him and they're videotaping him, he turns out to like actually be a crazy guy and like actually maybe a murderer or something. That movie would have been donk. And like
Genius.
there was different times over the years he kept saying like, oh, I think we found a distributor. Like you can go look up online, see comments from him, and supposedly I think there was like a teaser trailer at one point, but it got taken down. I never seen that. But yeah, like I wanted to see that movie so bad, but I think it's just something either he didn't think turned out very good, or maybe because he couldn't get the distribution. You know, I guess he shelved it permanently at this point. But like, yeah, like it's funny when you mention that, like, because it kind of like not exactly like a Borat thing, but it almost is like that format of like, you know, capturing shit like that.
What if he did it like Blair Witch 2? They find him, and then like he rubs off on him and gives him the Tom Green fucking curse.
That'd be
And then they
awesome.
go back home and they start fucking like they start buying bowling trophies and fucking going to the guy's house and trying to get a picture with him.
And fucking up pizza deliveries and shit.
They put in the Billy Bob teeth and start eating caramels and shaking their leg around and shit.
That would be amazing.
Fucking draw naked chicks on their dad's car.
Looking for celery generals in the middle of the road. Yeah. Amazing.
Throwing piggies off of hills.
So in general, like whenever we do franchise movies, like it kind of got fucked up in general, like when we started, because we were only doing 80s movies. So there's some franchises we started out on like part 2 or whatever. But in general, going forward, once we dropped that angle and started doing movies of any time period, like I really try to do the movies in the order they come out. But I'm like, I don't really think I could have done a Blair Witch show, because like this part 2 is like the only movie in the series that really interests me. So.
Exactly. Just like with my dad, you'd be watching Blair Witch 2. Like, when's the actual movie start?
Yeah.
Part 2 is when the movie starts, right?
Yeah.
Why are we watching this? Why are we watching this extended opening?
Part 1 feels like the HBO Max spin-off series, and part 2 feels like the real movie you would go see in the theater.
Exactly.
So yeah, I want to thank you for picking this one, because like the last couple ones I picked for you to do, which you either hadn't seen in a long time, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so awesome, Zach. And then there just end up being movies you don't like, and you just out of nowhere a couple weeks ago you're like, hey, what about this movie? And I'm glad you did, because yeah, like I really like this one, and I doubt anybody else has done a podcast episode about it other than just to talk about how bad it sucked and flopped and whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So yeah, so that's it for it's like, what is it called? Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2? Like, it shouldn't be Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows.
They broke all the rules. They were like, these rules, they mean nothing to us.
Exactly. Just like Marilyn Manson broke all societal rules in the time.
Exactly.
I still can't believe he didn't do a cameo as the Blair Witch back then.
Exactly. That would have right there, right? Like his career would have been like, you think he was born to play the Blair Witch.
Yeah. And then for the soundtrack, if he was actually in the movie, he could have done a song called Horror is Dead, and that would have really blown people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I remember in a weird way, Zach, is like, I feel like the soundtrack to this movie was like more promoted than the movie itself. It was weird.
Yeah, I remember like a lot of commercials for the soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was, because whatever DVD have you ever bought where one side was the movie and the other side was the soundtrack? You know.
What if that's the thing? What if they thought the soundtrack was going to be way huger than it was, and they ended up they had a whole warehouse full of them. So they're like, let's take those CDs that we're going to just get rid of or destroy, and just make the other side the movie, and we'll just give it to them as the DVD, and we don't have to get rid of all those soundtracks. Very Chad.
Very Chad Kroger.
Hell yeah.
I forgot to mention that. Maybe I brought this up on our show, but did I ever tell you I actually saw Nickelback in concert?
No.
It was when I'm assuming when they were first starting. I had never heard of them, and there was a radio station in Cincinnati. I can't remember if it was 97X or WBN. Well, one of them anyway. They had this series called like the Low Dose Shows, where it was like whatever the number of it was the station, like 97X, it was like the concert ticket or whatever, it was like it was like $9.77. So like the number of the station was the amount of the ticket, and like they would get like actual bands that were signed to major labels, but they just weren't famous yet. And they always be like the whatever low dose show. So I saw, went to a couple of them actually. But yeah, my buddy was like, "Oh, you want to go to so and so?" Like he never heard of them either. He's like, "Oh, it's a low dose show." So we went to the low dose show, and turned out to be our boys in Nickelback. I don't remember anything other than it was just like a mediocre rock band. But there's no way I could have predicted that they would have become the laughing stock of rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of weird the bands that people decide are like the worst. Okay, it's like I've heard worse bands than Nickelback, but it's
Oh
just
yeah,
like they became the meme.
yeah.
It's like I remember when they first came out, like that first like big music video they had. I
Hmm.
remember people liked it. I
Yeah.
remember I've been on, whatever it said.
Oh, but you know, well, you know, another one that was exactly like that, like almost like the same type of thing was, remember fucking how much people had boners over Creed, and then after like 3 years, everybody hated Creed? Like, I don't get how that happens, you know what I mean?
Weird, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, like the guy wearing like the leather pants and like in Creed, and then he always had like those kind of like blue silver plastic shirts and stuff. That was like it's easy to forget about now, but there is like actually a whole era of rock that was like, you know, I guess early 2000s rock that like is completely washed away, and like nobody's nostalgic about it at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The irony though is as much as Nickelback's made fun of, like I see actual commercials using their songs and making fun of them. I bet if like they tour around or release an album, they probably actually still make more money than like just a regular band starting out now. You know what I mean?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, anything else you wanted to say about how Chad Book of Shadows is?
Fucking yeah, baby. Yeah, I agree with you. There's like that part towards like the transition into the third act where it's just like not a lot of things are happening, but it's still like it's not like, oh, this is bad now. It's basically just like it lets you like take a breather, and
Yeah.
then they just kind of throw a lot of weird shit at you, and
Yeah.
it's not needed overall, but like it's not fucking overly terrible either.
Speaking of which, I just thought of something. Did I miss something? What is the Book of Shadows in the movie?
The Book of Shadows. Yeah,
If was there one, I can't remember now.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because it seems like anything to do with the witch or the woods or anything, like they always kind of have like these various like what do you call it, like research materials that they reference. I don't remember like a whole giant book coming out, but
Maybe they were implying the book that the two the couple were writing.
that
Something.
could have been Book of Shadows. You're right. That would actually have been interesting.
They had a title though. It said Blair Witch History or Hysteria. So
Yeah.
it'd be weird to call it Book of Shadows though.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was the Tyler book. Anyway, that's just food for thought. So like, yeah, I mean,
What if that's the reason everybody hated it? Fucking
it could
false
be
advertising.
I wanted to see a Book of Shadows. Like you open it up and all these shadows fall out onto you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Fuck this movie.
Yeah, like people can say it's a terrible movie, but like remember that period, Zach, about 10 years ago where like literally the only horror movies that were getting released in theaters was these like shitty PG-13 Exorcist movies. Remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just stopped. The non-stop, they kept going and going and going. And it's like Eli Roth produced Last Exorcism, and they're like, oh, it made money, Last Exorcism too. And there was like all these other generic ones that came out after that. And it's like, I don't care who you are, compare those movies to Book of Shadows, and Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2 is obviously way better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's it, everybody. I want to thank you for listening, Zach. I want to thank you, obviously, for doing the show.
Oh yes.
Tell everybody what's going on Revival House Network real quick.
Revival House Network. We're almost done doing our 2-month long request block, and the last one we got to do, we were thinking we're gonna do a cinema enema episode, or we do Clive Barker's Nightbreed, and we're thinking like, oh, we should do an episode where we talk about the theatrical cut and the director's cut, because I've never seen the director's cut. That was a movie
Me either.
like I never. Yeah, I never saw it growing up. I always heard everybody really liked it, and the first time I watched it was the director's cut, and I was like, you know what? I don't think it's one of Clive Barker's best, but like, yeah, I want to see because the theatrical cut's the one everybody fell in love with, so I'm looking forward to watching that one. And
Yeah,
then,
I
and then
love
the
the
only other,
theatrical as a kid.
oh yeah. I remember thinking like it starts out great, like the opening scene with the killer killing the old couple and that weird mask he's got is like I was like this is right up my alley, and then it just like fucking all of a sudden there's a guy with a moon head
Mm-hmm.
and he's
Mac
hanging
tonight.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like this isn't what I was expecting now. Fucking, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it again. And then the only other request we got is the one you gave us, the Nacho
Oh yeah.
movie.
Are you guys really gonna do that?
You're gonna do it. We're gonna. What's it called again? It's got 2 titles.
It's like Autopsy or something.
It's like Aftermath Genesis.
Aftermath. Yeah, something like that.
We're gonna do that. It's only 30 minutes long. It's a short film about a guy who likes to have sex with corpses. Very Chad.
Yeah, I still remember when I got that, and I invited Phil D's over and we drank beer and watched it. And, yeah, we loved it.
Good
But
times.
it was.
The first time I watched that was on Netflix, and I was like, "How the fuck is this on Netflix?"
Yeah, when you told me it was on Netflix, I could not fucking believe it. The DVD, it's better though to see it on DVD because then you get to look at the DVD cover, right?
Very Chad cover.
Yeah, very Chad.
Is that an effect or is that just a real life body that they took a picture of?
No, you can tell if you like look at it close up on the front of the DVD. It's like you can tell like the severed foot or whatever it is. It's very rubbery looking.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty rubbery when you watch it in the movie too. But yeah, I remember when I had the Nightbreed poster on my wall for about 20 years, and I got it at the video store when they were done with posters, they would like give them away or whatever. I asked for that one, and like also too, I can't remember if I think it was at the video store as well. They had little booklets of Nightbreed, and I took one home. I had already seen the movie in the theater, so like that's why I wanted the poster and stuff. But they had these little promotional booklets that you would like. They were just like little fold out things, and like they would explain to you some of the concepts of the movie and shit. I guess trying to get people interested in renting the movie or whatever. Pretty interesting movie at the time. I can see why it was a hard sell. But yeah.
I think Clive Barker hit it out of the park with his first movie.
Yeah.
And I think that made expectations too big, at least for me.
Yeah, you can't really top when you have Julia in a movie.
Exactly.
Like, forget Freddy Krueger. Julia is one of the best of all time.
Very Stacy.
She is. So anyway, that's it, guys. Again, thank you for listening. And I guess we'll catch you again here soon. We'll have to listen back to this recording, though, because like we might have said some actual different stuff. Did you think of that?
Oh, yeah. What if we go back and play it and then fucking, like, we kill each other or something while we're listening to it and fucking we hang each other or something? Very Chad.
Or it turns out we did a commentary for Avengers Endgame and we didn't even know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Or since I watched it on HBO Max, we might have just done a whole 2-hour episode about Tom and Jerry the movie.
Hell yeah.
Did she get the job at the hotel? You have to wait and find out.
You will. Hell yes.
It's like a premonition wrapped in a dream of a memory of a photograph. All right. This podcast isn't real. This podcast is not the way we recorded it.
That podcast isn't real.
That podcast is fake.
Somebody fucked with that podcast.
Who fucked with that podcast? Who did it? Was it you?
Chad.
All right. We'll see you again here soon in the movie graveyard.
Dog.
Ooh, yeah, baby. Sexy goth bad boy working out. Yeah.